Welcome to the 80-20 Baseball Podcast. Strike! The 80-20 Coaching Masterclass. Our weekly get-together where coaches go from new to good and good to great. Mastering the fundamentals and the art of coaching.
Welcome, coaches. Coach Bo here. You should be proud of yourself for showing up each week, elevating your coaching game. I know I get pumped up to be here knowing all of you are showing up, wanting to get better at coaching, wanting to have more success out on the field, wanting your players to get better, wanting your team to get better, wanting the season to go good. That motivates me to keep bringing it each week. Growing up with a dad who was a youth baseball coach my entire childhood, and then getting into youth baseball as a coach myself, including coaching my own kids' youth sports teams. I know how awesome the role of being a youth coach is and how important it can be. In fact, at the end of the day, it's far more important than the higher levels of coaching where it becomes more of a business. And even just a tiny percent of players make it to that level. But at the youth level, 100% of our kids want to have fun this season, want to get better, and 100% of them are going to grow up to be adults. And our impact can help in all of those areas, leave a lasting positive impact. And like I said, you should be proud of yourself for being here. The season's coming up. The 80-20 baseball coaching plan is available right there on the homepage. To me, it's the best coaching plan. It is loaded. It is packed. There's that much in there. Good news is when you get the coaching plan, I'll guide you to where to start. What are the main core things that you could work on and utilize so you can have a successful season? Now, you might be thinking, why can't I just find all these resources scattered around the internet? Well, one, you're not going to be able to find everything that's in the 80-20 baseball coaching plan because I didn't get a lot of it from other places. It wasn't just I took from all over and put it together. I optimized every single drill that a coach should use at the youth level. Recently added in a bonus video that has 11 competitive drills, which aren't even part of the 16 plus drills that are outlined. I'm on my 75-inch touchscreen, drawing out all the nuances of how to run each specific drill to a T. Essentially, you'll be running the best drills around. And I say that very humbly. A lot of coaching stuff I see out there gets put together pretty quick. It wasn't just my almost 40 years in the baseball world experience that went into this, but it literally took half a decade to put everything together to build it out because there's so much you want to leave out, the detail to make sure it's as efficient as possible, it's as concise as possible, but has every single thing you'll need as a youth baseball coach. Speaking of that, the price on that is going up. Like I said, originally when it launched earlier this year, it launched at the best price it was ever going to be at. It was under $100. There are books out there to help youth baseball coaches that are being sold for $200 for a book. It's a book on hitting for $200. It's out there. When the coaching plan initially got launched, it was under $100. Right now it's at $127. It will be going up January 1st, where it's going to be at its final resting spot price. So you'll want to get that before it goes up on January 1st. You get access to it for a full year. It's hosted on the website, 8020baseball.com. So you don't have to download a bunch of stuff to your computer and store it on your computer. It's hubbed on the 8020 baseball website. Of course, you can download things and utilize things as you go, but it's a central place where you just check in. You got all your coaching stuff centrally located, organized. And this goes back to that question, can I just find all this stuff and put it together online, on YouTube, all around the internet? This is all organized in order. It has everything in one simple spot, everything you need to coach, preseason plans, in-season plans, pregame plans, all the drills, practice plans. Not only that, the practice plans are editable. So you can put the times in for your practice. You can put the times in and just go out and use them. I break down all the drills on my 75-inch touchscreen. It's got a pitching video where I'm out on the field breaking down each part of the pitching delivery, all the parts of the pitching delivery that we need to coach up. It's got bonus pitching drills for pitchers to utilize to help their mechanics and their arm strength. Easily the best value out there for the youth baseball coaching world. And it's right there on the homepage, 8020baseball.com. And you get priority access to me. Any questions you have as they come up, I'll be right there to answer and help you so you can be successful. Speaking of highly successful, Vladimir Guerrero. We're going to talk about some of the things he tells himself in the batter's box that makes him super successful. I did a little more digging in on Coach Neffendorf. He's the coach who went 59-0 this past season, NAIA baseball coach. Got hold of an article that came out a few months ago dug into it, pulled out what we could use, what we need to utilize to be a better coach. I'll share that with you here. And I have a great comment from a very famous pro athlete. I'll play the clip of how he looks at failure. This is golden. I think that's one of the reasons baseball's such a great sport for youth players to play. Yeah, it's fun. Hit some home runs, strike some kids out, make some diving catches, win games, meet some great teammates, have fun, get outside, burn some calories, be active, get off the screens. There's a lot of benefits there, of course, but one benefit I think is so valuable, or more valuable in baseball than some of the other sports, is that failure rate, like hitting. Hitters are going to be successful less often than they are successful typically, unless, they're on base or batting average is over 500. And sometimes that's the case, but usually not when they get to a certain level and the pitchers catch up. They start throwing multiple different pitches and locating the ball better, things like that. Dealing with failure. And this professional NBA player, very well known, he shares out a comment from a reporter. It's a pretty awesome comment he gives in response to a reporter's question about failure and not winning the championship. So let's start with Vladimir Guerrero. And this is a post by Baseball IQ_app. Really good follow on X. They posted this a few weeks ago. It was a video with Vladimir Guerrero. And here's what he was saying to himself in the batter's box during a real game. He starts off by saying, stay calm, stay calm, stay calm. Then he says, don't chase, make him come to you. Make him being the pitcher, make the pitcher come to you. Be smart, look for a good pitch in the zone. Hey, we've talked about this exact thing on this podcast. Every hitter should have a pre-pitch routine, and that pre-pitch routine will look a little different depending on the hitter. It may look a little different, but it should include a full breath. Here's Vladimir Guerrero, one of the great hitters in all of the game, in the entire world, talking about staying calm. And then we talk about what Ted Williams talked about famously that gets overlooked a lot more often than it should, and that is look for a good pitch in the zone. And I would be more specific, in the hitting zone, which may make up a large part of the strike zone depending on the hitter. But he says, be smart. Let the pitcher come to him. He said, let the pitcher come to you. He says, let the pitcher come to me. I love this positive self-talk. The mind almost always will have some kind of thought. And I think it's better to proactively control those thoughts than it is to let those unwanted negative thoughts creep into the mind. Like, don't strike out, don't look silly, don't let them throw it by you. I mean, all these negative thoughts that we have that will creep into the mind if we don't proactively fill our mind, in this case, the hitters, proactively filling their mind with positive self-talk. Obviously, it would be great to be up there with a monk mind, a Zen mind, with no thought at all. But if any of us knew how to coach that, or anybody in the world knew how to coach that, Major League Baseball teams would have a blank check waiting for you. In the meantime, using comments like stay calm, and I like make the pitcher come to me. Make the pitcher come to me. Don't chase. Be smart. Look for a good pitch. We have a routine. We have a hitting approach. We have a hitting plan. We want our hitters to have a hitting approach, a hitting plan with some structure and some consistency. What better way to implement it than to talk it out to ourselves as hitters when we're in the box? For the hitters to talk it out to themselves, because it's so easy to get distracted by those negative thoughts, by fear, by worry, by things around us, people in the stands, the bleachers, our buddies on the other team, the situation, the score. So I really like what Vladimir Guerrero is saying here. Not to mention, stay calm, take a deep breath, make the pitcher come to him, and get a good pitch in the zone. That's a great 1, 2, 3 mental recipe. Take a deep breath, make him come to me, get a good pitch in the zone. So Vladimir Guerrero, I wouldn't recommend coaching hitters in all areas like Vladimir Guerrero, like trying to copy everything he does, because he is one of those rare freaks, one of those anomalies. He is like the elite of the elites when it comes to skill and talent and ability. It doesn't hurt to have his pops be who he was, as most of us grew up watching Vlad Sr. and being able to take batting practice on major league fields when we're barely out of diapers. So he did have some huge advantages there that our kids aren't going to have. But these things that he's saying to himself, these are usable by all hitters and should be used by all hitters. It's hard for our hitters to forget their hitting approach, their hitting plan, when they're saying it to themselves in the batter's box. And it's harder for negative thoughts to creep in when our hitters are proactively controlling their thoughts with these good, productive messages that keep them honed in on their hitting plan, their hitting approach. All right, coming out firing here with some good Vladimir Guerrero stuff. Love watching him hit. Like watching him play. As most of you all know, I'm a huge Dodger fan, so of course I was elated when the Dodgers won, But watching the Blue Jays play, watching all the teams play in the playoffs was just so much fun. And I really felt bad for Vladimir Guerrero because he did everything and then some. He might have been the best player in the World Series. He might have been the most productive player in the World Series, at least on the offensive side, outside of Yamamoto. But he didn't win, so you got to feel for him. Nevertheless, we can borrow what makes him so successful so we can go out there and win our championships. Now, coaching reviews. Years ago, my wife and I were thinking about going to a restaurant, and she takes out her phone and she says, let me look up the reviews. And this was before people looked up reviews, or at least at the very beginning of this thing that we all do now. Speaking of which, if you haven't left a review for this podcast, definitely leave a review. That really helps the podcast, a rating. That would be greatly appreciated. So my wife took out her phone and she said, it's 4.4 stars out of 5. I said, hey, it sounds good. Let's go try it out. And it was good. We're huge fans of utilizing Yelp. It's not always 100%, and we definitely don't trust restaurants with just a few reviews, but we're big fans of Yelp, and we have a 90+% success rate with restaurants, which is great. You don't waste money. You get a good meal almost all the time, and it allows us to try a bunch of different places here in the Boise area without striking out very often. So reviews are a great thing. Reviews are everywhere in life. What if there were coaching reviews? What if there were a Yelp app where players could leave a review for you, for me, for their coaches? If your players were to give you a review, what kind of review would they give you? But more importantly, are we trying to get a good review from them right now when they're 11 years old? What if I were to tell you the goal is to not get a 5-star review from our players when they're on the team or right after the season, even when they're 11 or 10 years old or 12 years old? What if I were to recommend that we have the goal to help guide us when we step foot on the practice field, out there on the field for the games, in the training environment with our players and our teams, to have the goal of getting a 5-star review from all of our players when they're 40 years old? From what I see, most coaches want to get a positive review at the end of a practice. They want to get a positive review right now from their players. Many coaches try to get positive reviews out of 10-year-olds, but 10-year-olds don't understand the context behind, or they don't fully understand the context, all the context behind what a great coach does for a player in the long term. They don't quite fully understand what great coaching is for the most part. They think a great coach makes them feel good about themselves in the moment, but I recommend having the mindset, having the goal of getting a 5-star review from all of our players when they're 40 years old and they look back with a broad understanding of what a good coach or what good parenting looks like, what tough love looks like. How many of you had coaches growing up that you really didn't like? And I say like with air quotes. We really didn't like that coach when we were playing for them. But as we've gotten older, we have a ton of respect for how they coached now. We look back and go, like, that coach got it. They did what was best for me. They wanted what was best for me. They knew better than I did when I was 11, right? So let's avoid making our one and only goal to get a positive review right now. Should we get negative reviews right now? Not necessarily, but our goal as coaches should be to be the coach, to coach our players in a way that when they're 40 years old and they truly understand what we were trying to do and where we were coming from and how we were trying to guide them, when they're 40 years old, all 12 players that were on our 10-year-old team are going to say, yep, Coach Bo, Coach Joe, Coach John, Coach TJ, Coach Bobby, they got it. They were 5-star coaches. When I was playing for them, I would have given them 3 or 4 stars. But as I've gotten older, more mature, and understand the bigger picture, they were 5-star coaches. So keep that in mind. Each time we get out there, that'll help guide us when we make decisions. It'll help guide us with our messaging, our expectations. That doesn't mean we should be a jerk. That doesn't mean we should be a dictator. And that doesn't mean we shouldn't be giving out a ton of quality praise. But just keep that in mind. Our goal is to get 5-star reviews from all of our players when they're 40 years old, not 14 years old. Speaking of a coach that seems to get really good reviews from his players, Coach Neffendorf, he's the manager at Louisiana Shreveport University. Like I said earlier, he went 59-0 this past season. 59-0 at the college baseball level, at any level, is nuts. He's going up against some really good teams. That's some really good baseball at the NAIA baseball level. In fact, one of my old high school teammates, Coach Snap, was coaching against them in the NAIA World Series. And I know Coach Snap knows the game at a really elite level. They went 59-0 against quality competition and some very high quality coaching on the other teams. You got to be doing a lot of things right, big picture things right, to go 59-0. That's not all luck. Sure, luck is involved, but you don't go 59-0 unless you are doing a lot of things much better than most teams. And you're coaching your players a lot better than most coaches do. So, Coach Neffendorf, originally from the Oregon area, influenced by the great Pat Casey at Oregon State, here's one of his comments that really stood out. He said, "There are coaches at every level who are very successful. They're more consumed with putting together a roster instead of a team, and that can be a recipe for disaster, in my opinion." He said, "It's amazing how fast the right team can become one unit and figure out how to play together. Personalities, coachability, teammate cohesiveness, that's more important than previous stats or how many home runs they hit the year before or how hard they throw." Here's something else that stood out. Now, this is him talking about practice. He said, quote, "We like to play fast and go fast. Our practices are structured and it's an in-your-face type of workout, an hour and a half or so, and we're out of there." He said, "We're out of there by 3:30 at the latest. Fast-paced practices." We talk about this all the time. All the drills at 80/20 baseball on the coaching plan are designed to be fast-paced. I draw them out on the big screen. All of it's fast-paced. All of it's leveling up your players so the games get easier and easier. He said, "We fire the ball around as quickly as possible after an out. We try to get the ball back to the pitcher before the batter has the weight off the bat, the hitting weight. So after an out, they try to zip the ball around the infield and get it back to the pitcher who's back on the rubber before the next hitter from the other team is really even out of the batters. They sprint around. They sprint back to their positions." He said, "That's how we practice. It's one of the first things I do with these guys when we get them here. We fire the ball around. We sprint to our positions. We show the outfielders how many outs. We go as fast as we can." He said, "Our new players are gasping for air early on, but they catch up." Now, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this for like an 11-year-old or a 9-year-old baseball team, but our players could definitely play fast. And kids want to play fast. Yeah, fast is harder. It's more tiring, but it's more fun. The scrimmage guide in the coaching plan talks about how to speed up and literally run the fastest yet safe scrimmage/game possible. That's what kids want. Most coaches think having a fun practice is about saying a bunch of nice things to the kids. No, it's about action. Of course, it's got to have safety built in, but it's got to be fast-paced, game-like, moving. That's what they like. Not a bunch of carnival games and a bunch of cheering, although having some fun games from time to time and cheering is not a bad thing, but it's about moving, fast-paced, action, reps, specifically game-like reps. In fact, Coach Neffendorf goes on to say, "I don't like the standard on-field batting practice. It's boring. I don't like standing around. We change it up. We make sure there's a lot going on. The standard batting practice is one hitter hitting at a time on the field. That's it. If you're doing that, you are leaving so much on the table." Now, Coach Neffendorf did say if it's a practice right before a game, they might back off a little bit, but other than that, they're going fast. He goes on to talk about the type of players he wants on his team, and this goes for every level. He says everything about the players we're bringing in has to be a good fit. It has to be the right fit. The coaches, the players, everybody. And there has to be clear communications on the standards and expectations. The interviewer asked him if they were thinking about the winning streak. You go 59-0, it's a great question to ask. Were the players distracted by the winning streak? Were there superstitions involved? He said, "We had our reminders for the players. Don't give in, ignore the BS, keep doing what we're doing, get better every day." He said, "Our players had such a good focus on getting back to the World Series and earning a chance to play for the title, but they never talked about it. That was the most unique thing." He said, "We addressed it a little bit after we won the 38th game, which was the first record, and the 41st, which was the NAI record, but it wasn't some big speech." That's the thing. You can mention it. You can address things. We can talk about the elephant in the room, but then we can move on after that. We don't have to dive in to the 10-minute, 20-minute elephant in the room conversation. This goes for every aspect as a coach or even as a parent. Interestingly enough, the next thing that stood out in this article is from Inside Pitch magazine. It's the ABCA magazine, American Baseball Coaches Association magazine. Speaking of which, Coach Sarancic, who regularly writes articles for this magazine, he was actually in this. His picture is on like the 4th or 5th page of this particular issue. He's going to be coming on in a month or so. I have him scheduled to record, and he's got a great topic he wants to cover in a month. Always a great interview with him. He's got a new topic, especially for the preseason time. And this article was by Adam Revelette. I guess I should have said that earlier. I apologize. Some great questions by Adam here in the Inside Pitch. This is the August issue. And like I said, the last thing that stood out that Coach Neffendorf said, he said the only time all season that they actually got away from themselves, or at least as a coaching staff, he felt himself get away from their routine and plan, was in the first game of the NAI World Series. He said that he told the team something like, quote, set the tone. And he said this wasn't consistent with our messaging throughout the season. It leaned more toward arrogance, like we've got to show everybody. He said, we adjusted that quickly and said, no, we don't. Just keep being who we are. And then after that, he said the team settled in. So I like how he addressed the mistake that he felt he made in his messaging. And we don't want to change our messaging for the big game. That doesn't mean we might not mention one thing that the other team likes to do that maybe other teams don't do. But if we're running high-level, fast-paced, game-like practices, quality reps, where our players are not only having success, but getting pushed and challenged, we don't really need to pump them up or tell them to be any different when the games get bigger. But I like how Coach Neffendorf added that. He changed his messaging once they got to the World Series and quickly realized, hey, no, we got to get back and just be who we are and do what we've done all year. So I love those nuggets from Coach Neffendorf. 59-0 season. Definitely stuff to learn from there. Typically, one season or one championship is not something I'm looking to copy from. I like longer term, more consistent success spread out. But 59-0 at the NAIA college level, that's not a fluke. Sure, a little luck's always involved, but that's not much luck. They're doing something really good, and they're doing stuff better than a lot of the other teams. And we're just trying to learn from that so we can be better. All right, let's finish up with, this is from Milwaukee Bucks star, and I'm not even going to try to say his last name. I used to watch the NBA from about 1989 through 2005. There wasn't very many days that went by I didn't catch a game when the season was going on, but I don't follow it much anymore. Giannis, I'm sure a lot of you know who I'm talking about. He's in his 12th year. I mean, I know about the guy. He's a stud. I've watched highlights of him. I'm not even going to try to say his last name. 13 letters, a lot of vowels. Anyways, his team won the NBA championship in 2021, and he got a question asked in one of the subsequent years when they didn't win the championship. And his answer is exactly the kind of answer and mindset that we should all have, that we should share with our kids, our players, when it comes to what we might deem as a failure, like not winning the championship or not finishing in first place. Does that just mean the season was unsuccessful, that it was a failure? Listen to what he says, and we'll finish the episode out with this. I really like his bold response to the reporter asking him if he considers a season that doesn't end in a championship unsuccessful.
Do you view this season as a failure?
You asked me the same question last year, Eric. Okay, do you get a promotion every year on your job? No, right? So every year you work is a failure. Yes or no? No. Every year you work towards something, towards a goal, which is to get a promotion, to be able to take care of your family, to be able, provide the house for them or take care of your parents. You work towards a goal. It's not a failure. It's steps to success. Michael Jordan played 15 years, won 6 championships. The other 9 years was a failure? That's what you're telling me. And so why you ask me that question? There's no failure in sports. There's good days, bad days. Some days you are able to be successful. Some days you're not. Some days it's your turn. Some days it's not your turn. And that's what sports is about. You don't always win. And this year, somebody else is going to win. Come back next year, try to be better, try to build good habits, try to play better, not have a 10-day stretch with playing bad basketball. And hopefully we can win a championship. It was steps to it, and we were able to win one. Hopefully we can win another one.
All right. What a great response, huh? Just really great. Giannis putting the reporter in his place, but more importantly, the message should help us more clearly define success, failure as coaches, as teams. So I wanted to share that. I thought it was really good. With that said, next week we have our top 5 coaching posts of the month, and we'll talk about how to avoid losing control of our team. In 2 weeks, we'll talk about the optimal base running mindset, and I'll share a huge mistake that we should avoid, which is very common during batting practices and definitely hinders our hitters' ability to improve. A very common mistake that's very rarely ever addressed, much less fixed. We'll talk about those 2 things in 2 weeks. Head over to 80/20 Baseball and get that coaching plan. The price is going up January 1st after this first year discounted price. Even if you just use half of everything that's in that coaching plan, you're still going to get twice your money's worth. And you can have it in minutes over at 8020baseball.com. All right, everybody. Always awesome being here with each of you. This has been Coach Bo. Let's go take care of our health so we can be at our best for our family, our friends, our teams, our players. Let's take this information out there. Let's put it into play. Y'all take care. And until next week, adios.
This has been the 80-20 Baseball Podcast, the 80-20 Baseball Masterclass. We got this. Now, let's take the field.